You're interviewing the best of the best. It's TRL. You're live on TV every day. We were like rock stars during that time. And it was like, enjoy it now because there's nothing bigger after this. Like, this is the peak of your career.
Welcome to another episode of the Why Not Me podcast. I'm your host, Mike Jackson, partner at Get Lifted Film Co. And today's guest is my friend, Lala Anthony. She is amazing, cool, funny, smart. You probably know her from shows like The Chi, Power, maybe the movie Think Like a Man. But I know her as a friend and a comrade in the streets of Hollywood. So I'm really excited to talk to her about her career, being born in Brooklyn, her move to Atlanta, working for MTV, and all the incredible things that she's been able to accomplish throughout her career. I also get to talk to her about being a mom and just like the joy and fulfillment that you get from that role in life. So we have a really wonderful, amazing conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go. Lala Anthony on Why Not Me. Lala Anthony is my guest today on the Why Not Me podcast. Hey. I've known you for years. I consider you a friend.
Yes.
So happy to sit down and have this conversation with you. So I believe you're a Cancer, June 25th?
June 25th. I am a Cancer through and through.
I love that. My daughter, who just turned 1, is also a Cancer. So I'm prepping myself for the Cancer woman, the Cancer girl.
Very sensitive, but doesn't always show it. A overthinker, but caring, nurturing, sincere, loyal, smart, all of those things.
I'm very excited. I'm a Pisces, so I'm also a water sign. So not only do I have daddy's little girl, but I have daddy's little girl who's a Cancer. So I know I'm
and my
spun.
My son Cayenne is a Pisces, so definitely understand.
When's his birthday?
March 7th.
Gotcha. I'm March 12th.
Yeah.
We're also sensitive and emotional and all the things. So, all right. So June 25th, you come into the world, born in Brooklyn, New York. Mm-hmm. Tell me about, that part of your life, your parents, siblings, just like what was the world like and what was your world like when you were first born and like the environment?
So, I remember, my world at that time was a big family. Both my parents are from Puerto Rico, so tons of aunts, uncles, cousins, and everyone, living in one house. So that's kind of how it started. So I have a very, very close bond with my family. And we always kind of moved in the space of, if you have love, you're the wealthiest in the world, and very loving family, very big family. But it translated into my life now because I've always lived in a house or wanted to create an atmosphere where family and friends could always come over, feel safe. If they needed somewhere to stay, they know they could stay here. So that's how I grew up. And that's how I've kind of set up my adult life as well. It can be a little crazy, but it's all family and people we know, but literally anyone's liable to come at any point and you're just like, hey, all right, come on. That's just how it was growing up. So that's how I set up my life as an adult as well.
And I see that even just in your posts on social media, you could have the most fantastic, glamorous posts, but then the next post and the next 5 are family.
Exactly. Family for sure. And just doing things as a family, making sure we have holidays together, celebrate major moments. We want to get together for anything. Somebody will get a 90 on a test. We're like, gotta celebrate. All right, what are we doing? Who's cooking? Where's the balloons? Everything becomes a thing with us. But I love that. And I think having that family piece and growing up, and being part of a big family has always kept me grounded and, kept me who I am and never getting too caught up in this other world, which is filled of amazing things, but there's another side to it as well. So I'm glad that the family piece really keeps me grounded.
Yeah, I think family is so essential to anyone's success. I mean, it's hard. It's hard out there. It's hard to do it on your own. So, and it's hard to trust. So when you have people in your life that you can trust, that you can love, and you don't have to question whether they have your back or not, that's such a powerful tool to help you navigate life. So that's incredible. Now I know 15 is when you kind of started doing the Hot 97 thing, and I want to get to that. But before we do, what led you to this business? What led you at 15 to even wanting that internship and that job? Was there things or people that came into your life that made you say, I want to be this
So I was a tomboy growing up. I was super into music and hip hop, and all I wanted was to rap. I thought I was going to be a rapper. Like I was convinced that I was going to be a rapper. So I was just really chasing music and trying to be close to music in any way. So I remember it was like at that time, I think it was Method Man or someone was having like an in-store, and I just wanted to get close to the music and the artists that I loved. Like growing up, you know, being young, loving Method Man, I was like, I want to go see like what this in-store is about. And when I got there,
Right.
I saw that the radio station was putting on this in-store, and I was like, that's cool. Like, what are these people doing? They're putting up posters. They're doing this. This looks really cool. So I talked to somebody, and they were like, well, we're interns. If you want, you can apply for like an internship. And I was like, cool. I didn't think anything of it. It was really just to get close to the music and like what I love. So I was like, I can intern. And that's kind of how it started, the internship. But it was really just always about being close to the music that I loved. And even now, like I'm such a hip hop head. I'm such a music head. Like I can talk about any album. I know every Nas album forward and backwards. Like I'm that person. So that's still very much a part of who I am, even though my career has taken, you know, a million different paths.
What female hip hop artist that we are aware of is like the closest comp to like the style you envisioned that you would have had as a rapper?
I don't think I was doing it long enough to have like a style to be defined. There's so many amazing female rappers out there. I mean, female rappers are just killing the game, and it's so amazing to see. But that's back when Luda first started rapping, because we were interning at the radio station together, and I used to be like, I'm doing this. I want to be like the female of the crew and everything like that. But I just felt like I was better at radio, and then it became TV and acting and all these other things.
Right. And Luda, didn't you guys host the show together or a show together?
So he was already interning at that same radio station I was talking about. So I didn't know him until I started interning there. And then he got his own radio show with another guy. And they were like, they need a girl on that show, like to break it up. And at that time, I was around, very knowledgeable of music, super young. So they were like, well, what about Lala? And at first he was like, no, we don't want a girl on the show. And they kind of gave me a hard time. But then I broke through, and it was the three of us on a show together. So it's crazy to think 16, 17 years old doing that, and what his career has become, what my career has become. Sometimes it's still, when I think about it, it's still mind blowing, because I remember him working on his rap career. I remember him coming up with the name Disturbing the Peace. I remember the first time he got like a company credit card. I remember when he said he was going to quit the radio station and go on the road to promote his independent single that he had. I remember like all these moments, and you never know what it's going to become. So it's just crazy that his career went the way it did and my career went the way it did.
Yeah, he's really incredible. He's such a pro too. We produce a show for Netflix called Rhythm and Flow.
Yeah.
And he is one of our hosts for the second season. And I got to tell you, like, I'm not that close with him, but like watching him work the room, watching him deal with other people, so professional, just on it.
But I think that also comes from us like having real jobs, so to speak, like working at the radio station, knowing what it's like to have like a boss you had to report to, or to have like, you know, understanding the work environment. We got that training really young, and we both were interning under Shaka Zulu, who's still Ludacris manager to this day. Yeah, and Shaka's the first person who ever gave me my experience and chance and taught me everything about the industry at 16 years old. So we learned, you know, from the best at a really young age.
Yeah, he's such a great dude, Shaka. Like, so thorough, so on it, and so like, you know,
100%. Like I dedicate, you know, my career to his teachings and just how I've been able to maneuver and stay relevant after so long in the game. It's definitely been, you know, all the things that he taught me. Sometimes still I think back to 16, 17 years old, like Shaka told me to never do that, like, or that doesn't feel right. Shaka said, and I still can think back to those moments.
What would Shaka do?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. So I guess I missed the part actually, because all of this is happening in Atlanta.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell me how you ended up in Atlanta.
So we were in Brooklyn, living in Brooklyn. And then my aunt was living in Atlanta with my cousin. And you know how it goes. You make that phone call telling the family, like, it's cheaper down here. You can have a better life. Like, you should come. And then like one uncle goes, then one cousin goes. And then my mom was like, we're going to go. So we moved to Atlanta. We moved in with my aunt at first and my cousin. And that's kind of how that transition to Atlanta happened. But a lot of New York people at that time were looking for a better life, slower life, more for your money, more than what you were getting in New York. So that's how we got down to Atlanta. So I moved to Atlanta kind of like the summer of my 10th grade year.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
basically you moved to Atlanta and everything happened.
Yeah, that's kind of where it happened, where
But quickly.
where I became who I was, where I really knew like what I wanted to do with my life. I would say all that happened in Atlanta for sure.
That's what's up. And Lala is not your government name. So when did you become Lala? And is there a story behind the birth of Lala?
So Ludacris named me Lala. That is the story behind it. My real name is Alani. So Alani, obviously. But at that time, they were calling me Lala the Latina. So it was like Lala the Latina, like that was the name. But it just kind of stuck. I mean, people would kind of say La or Lala, casually. But that kind of became my name when Luda stamped it, like saying it on the radio all the time.
Right. So it wasn't even a choice. It was just like a
It's
evolution.
just what it was.
It just happened.
It just kind of stuck. But my name is Alani.
Alani Nicole.
The Alani Nicole.
There you go. I'm trying to do a little research here.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Trying to get some shit correct. So you had that moment in your life, Atlanta, radio, hosting the show. What, as that's coming to an end, like where's your head at? Where are you like, I want to pivot to this, pivot to that? I know MTV was right there, right?
Yeah.
So like, tell me about that part.
So that's all, again, around Luda's story, because one day he came into the radio station. He's like, look, I'm about to quit this. I'm going to go on the road. I'm going to drive my car all over the country at a Hyundai. He was going to drive the Hyundai all over the country, sell the single outside of the car, out the trunk of the car. And he asked me, he said, you can come with me, or I don't know what you're going to do, because once I leave, it was the kind of show that if he left, it wasn't going to continue. Like it was,
right.
He had to be there. He was the core piece. So I really contemplated, like, am I just going to get in the car with him and go all over the country and help him, chase his dream and what he wants to do? Or am I going to chase my own dream? So at that time, I opened this book that had like all the top radio stations in the country. And I just sent my tape. It's called an air check tape. It's like 3 minutes of what you sound like on the radio. So I sent it to like the top 10 destinations, places I had never been to before, anything. And I just remember one day getting a call from the LA radio station, and they were like, we heard your tape. We think you're super cool. Like, would you consider coming out here and like being on the radio? I'm like, yeah, of course. And they were like, well, how much are you getting paid right now? It wasn't like lawyers and negotiations. It was like, how much you getting paid? And I wasn't getting paid anything. Like we were broke as fuck, all living in one place, one apartment. Like it was bad. So I was just like, I just made up any number. I think I said 30,000. And I thought that was like a crazy number. I was like, I make $30,000. And they were like, oh, well, this job pays like 60,000 or something. And I was like, what? Because really I was probably making like 15,000 or
exactly
something.
Right.
And so I just took that jump, and I had never been to LA before, never knew anything about Hollywood or what LA was like. I got on a plane, and when I got off the plane, I moved to LA, still a teenager, and started working on the beat in LA. And then that's how MTV came after that.
Got it. And college at this point in your life, I mean, you got into Howard, right? But you just were like, I'm sticking professional?
I went to Howard for like a semester, and I was majoring in communications. But what I realized for me is that I was already on the radio. So it's like I'm starting from scratch on like how to work the board and like how to do an intro. And I'm like, I do this already. Like I'm going backwards for what I'm doing. So it didn't last long, but I will say I enjoyed, I'm going to say, the semester or two that I was there, but I got a piece of what that college experience was, and like living on the dorm and everything. But I was like, I'm too ahead of what I'm majoring in right now, because all these people are trying to get a job on the radio. I already got one. So I was like, I don't want to lose my opportunity. So I rushed back to Atlanta, because I knew that, when you leave, it's easy for someone else to come take your spot. So I was like, I got to get back and get my spot. So I went back, and then that's when Luda said he was leaving. And that's when all of that kind of happened.
Got it. And the podcast is called Why Not Me? And it's about all these moments in life where you ask yourself that question, why not me? And you pivot towards what you believe is your truth and your strength. So that was definitely a why not me moment for you, as you chose that path.
It was. And you have to bet on yourself. Like I had to just know and be confident that I could do this. I'm one of the best at it, and just had to believe in myself and take a chance. Because it's not like I had someone guiding me or telling me, like my family doesn't know anything about the industry, or they didn't even really think radio was a real job. It was just like, oh, she's on the radio for fun. Like nobody thought that's something you make a career out of. Not at that time anyway. It's like, so what are you going to do with your life? I'm like, I'm on the radio. And they're like, but what you gonna do with your life?
What you gonna do? Right.
Yeah, it wasn't, because it was like just something fun to do.
So, but you're on this path and things are happening and your voice is getting out there, your name is getting out there. Obviously, you're starting to achieve some success. I remember starting to hear about Lala back in the day. What was the thing, I guess another Why Not Me moment in particular, and we'll talk about MTV, but like all that's kind of the same, MTV, the radio, it's like kind of hosting, but like the acting thing is what I'm really excited about when it comes to you, because I know how passionate you were about it. What was the moment when you were like, I'm pivoting to this direction. I'm going to focus on this acting grind?
So during the MTV days, people would always be like, MTV, they would tell you every day, like MTV is the gift and the curse. Like, this is the peak of your career. Like at that time, MTV was a different beast, like thousands of kids in Times Square every day. You're interviewing the best of the best. It's TRL. You're live on TV every day. We were like rock stars during that time. And it was like, enjoy it now, because there's nothing bigger after this. Like, this is the peak of your career. I would hear that all the time. And it would be like the MTV gift and the curse, because so many MTV people, unfortunately, it's like, you just never heard of them afterwards. It was like, well, what happened to so-and-so? They just kind of just disappeared and you didn't know what happened. And I was like, that's not going to be me. Like, that's not going to be me. So being on live television, I was like, okay, what's the natural like transition or next thing? And I always loved acting. Living in LA, you can't not get like touched by the acting bug. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take acting classes. I'm going to see what this is about, because I have the presence on camera. I know how to like work cameras and do also, why can't I learn this other skill? And I worked really, really hard at it. It's never been easy for me. It's still not easy to, get in certain rooms or, be taken seriously. I've made a lot of strides, with all the shows I've been on and getting nominated for an NAACP award for my work on The Chi and just different things. And people really finally seeing me as an actor. But it took so long, because forever it was just, oh, that's Lala from MTV. And people wanted you for cameos. Like, oh, we need like a VJ or we need a radio host. I'm like, I'm not trying to play myself. Like, that's the stuff that was coming my way. But I just had to dig in and work really hard, and still do. Like, I don't take it for granted. I don't take it as a joke. I know, the work that comes behind it. I still work with an acting coach before, each episode, each scene. Like, I don't play around. I don't play around with it.
How did the Chi come your way? I was always been curious about that.
Yeah, I love The Chi. I love Lena Waithe. That's family to me. And I just would always write her, like, this is an incredible show. And if there's ever an opportunity, even to just audition, like, me, I don't want anything handed to me. I'm like, give me the audition. Like, let me earn it. Let me show you that I could do this. And she was like, I'll always keep you in mind, always keep you in mind. And then an opportunity came and I auditioned for the role of Dom. And that was, season 3? Now we're on season 7. I just got back from Chicago yesterday. I was out there filming, but Lena just writes so beautifully and really brings these characters to life. And I feel like I'm really doing great work there. And after all these seasons, for that show to still be as popular as it is, as relevant as it is, it's really an incredible thing.
I love Lena, first of all. I think she's great.
Oh, she's amazing.
Her talent is undeniable, but her personality is fucking great too. She's just fun to be around. Always brings like that light and that fun. So that's awesome. So I know you also as a producer.
Yes.
And an author. What was the inspiration for writing books? Like what made you, I think I know the answer as far as like what made you believe in yourself, because you believe in yourself. But like, what was the moment where you're like, I'm going to put pen to paper and go down that path?
It started feeling like I was doing it on my own without even thinking about writing a book, but it started just feeling like therapy, like an outlet of like my stories, my struggles, what I've been through. And it really became therapy. And then I was like, so many people can learn from this or see that they're not the only one who's been through whatever it is. And I wanted to not be afraid to put my experiences out there so that other people can learn from them and see like people go through the same things. Like, it will get better. You will survive. You'll be okay. And that's just kind of how it started. It was more just a therapy outlet for me that turned into, a book.
I get that.
And it's great because that's the book that was just announced. That book was written over 10 years ago, and it just got announced yesterday as...
We've spoken about that book.
Yeah, we've spoken about it. So Hulu finally picked it up, and we're going to turn it... Kenya's writing it. We're going to turn it into a scripted series called Group Chat, which is just about like everything that goes on in a all-female group chat and like what we talk about and everything. It's going to be really cool, but it's crazy after all these years that that Love Playbook is still so relevant, because I don't think you never have it figured out. No one ever figures out like the rules of love. Like you never master it. It's always like, there's more question. You're married. I mean, you never master it. It's always
Nope.
like, okay, what do I do here? Or how do I handle this? Or whatever it is. So it's always the do's and don'ts of love will never get old.
I think that might be your kid in the
It's
background.
Cayenne in the background. It's Cayenne in the background. He's 6'4", so you barely could see him.
My Pisces brother.
He said you're his Pisces brother. He's waving. He said facts.
Facts. I got to tell you, I've never met your kid, but obviously his profile has grown and he's out in the world for his hoops. Mm-hmm. But I like seeing his interviews. I liked hearing him speak his truth. He's really composed. He seems really thoughtful about what he's going to say, but like exudes this confidence for like a teenager. Yeah. I just wonder, like, as a new parent with a 4, 3, and 1-year-old. Craziest. Yo, I've been up since 5 this morning.
I know how your house is.
It is nuts. It is nuts. But what is that feeling like, just to see your baby becoming a young man and seeing, like, I'm imagining seeing the lessons and the values that you instilled in him with all this light shining on him, still being composed, and I'm imagining still being the kid you raised. What does that feel like?
It's the greatest feeling. It's the greatest accomplishment. I remember my dad used to say, nothing makes me more proud than when people say, like, your kids are well-mannered or they're humble or they're great kids. I obviously didn't understand it then, but now that's, to me, is my measure of success. When people talk about what a great kid he is when I'm not around, not like how he handles himself, how he's humble, how he gives back. Yesterday, he was part of this kids camp where he was giving back to younger basketball players, here in Brooklyn, that inner city kids that want to play basketball. And that just makes me so happy, because that's everything I am. So when you see him, it's actually working, like all the teachings, all the talking, or him just seeing the way I live and the way I move and him emulating that as a parent, to me, that's the greatest measure of success. Not him like, of course I want him to do great in basketball and get in the NBA one day. That would be great. But who you are as a person, to me, how you treat other people, how you give back in the world is what makes you and what's important to me.
1,000%. I have to imagine, like, not just being Lala Anthony's son, but also being Carmelo Anthony's son. It's like double, like, light, double pressure. He's fame, all those things. Just congratulations, man. Like, thank you. Clearly, y'all are parent goals for me, because
thank you.
My little kids are running around like no fucks given. I'm like, oh.
But they're still little.
I'm like, please, Lord, be decent, be kind. So you're producing this show. Mm-hmm. You started producing before, like, maybe was your wedding show? Was that the first producing credit?
Was like more reality, but that was probably the first producing credit, and really understanding what it means to be a producer and be behind the scenes of things. And then you and I would talk about all the time. It's about creating your own content. What are stories that you feel like are relevant in the world? And you just have so much more control. And the landscape has changed. Yes, there's still casting and auditions, like, hey, they're looking for female, age, whatever. Do you want to audition? But now it's really about putting together your own projects that make sense for you, casting the people you want to work with, and really creating the world that you see. And I love that we're able to do that. And you're just seeing actors and people in general doing that more and more. And that's why the stories are so much more compelling, are better, because they're coming from real places of experiences that people have been through. And people are like, forget this waiting around for that one female, ages, whatever. And everybody in Hollywood's going after the same role. Like, I'm not going to wait anymore. Let's create our own stuff.
And I bet that would probably be the advice you give your younger self, right? Like, do the work, earn your spot, but recognize when it's there and lean into your superpower, which is ownership, control, your voice.
100%. And by doing that, you're also able to give jobs and opportunities to people you love and care about, or people you think are talented that haven't gotten their due or haven't gotten their shot. So you're able to create this whole world that helps so many people. So it's not just a vehicle for yourself, it's a vehicle for so many others.
Amen.
I just keep looking at my phone because they're trying to take a picture of us. I just want to take a picture of it. Okay.
I'm so glad to be talking. I miss you. I haven't seen you and talked to you for a minute.
I know. I miss you too. I'm so glad. That's why I said it was it was a no-brainer. When they told me it was you, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this.
I tried to call you last night. You're on the plane. I should have called you.
That's why I said I had just got back from Chicago from doing the Shy.
You know what I didn't know until I decided to do this interview, or you decided to say yes to this interview, was that you acted on like off-Broadway plays?
Yeah, so I did Love, Loss, and What I Wore. And again, that was just for me trying my hand at a lot of different things. Like, I really wanted to immerse myself in this world, and Broadway is nothing to play with, and learning monologue after monologue is incredibly challenging, but I was up for all the challenges. I just wanted to see all the different, lanes of acting and different things you could do as I was growing. And off Broadway, I was like, it's not as much pressure as Broadway, and I can continue to learn on that stage and grow and get better. So that's what I did. And all of it, ultimately helps to where I'm at now. But every role is different. Every character is different. Every approach to every character is different. So it's not like you just have to start over each time, with the tools and your teachings, because every single character requires something different from you.
I admire you so much because you're so down to like take risks, whether it's launching a product line, which you've done in the past, producing, acting, writing. I'm sure you're directing. If not, you will be directing soon. Mm-hmm. Like, it just feels to me, as from the outside looking in, like you're fearless. And I know fear lives there, and I know doubt and all those things, the human condition. But like, whatever that thing is, you have this like fortitude about yourself that is, to me, just really, really inspiring. And
I appreciate that. I try to be fearless. I'm still human with, my own sets of insecurities or things that happen. But I look at my life, I look at how I started to where I'm at now. And every day from here is a gift, because I'm doing more than I ever imagined. I'm living a life that I could have never imagined, this type of life. So I walk in gratitude, and I just keep pushing forward. And I know, like, I've been through so much, and I keep bouncing back and getting better and better. So I'm not going to stop now. So I live in that space of just like, I can do it. And the name of the podcast, like, why not me? Like, why not me? Like, I can do it. I'm strong enough. I've been through a lot of shit, and I can use that to tell my story and help others and really continue to grow. Cayenne's back.
Amen. Amen, sis. Amen. Okay. So, all right. So I always segue in these interviews to just like off-topic, fun questions. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily career questions, just funny shit. So again, this is being recorded. So if I say something or ask you something, like, nah, dude.
Okay. I got it.
I always protect my friends. So there's nothing that'll ever, whatever. What do you value most in a partner? In love?
Yeah, I would say for me, honesty is up there for sure. I value honesty. I want someone that's truthful and honest with me. There's other things I want. I want somebody that is rooted in God and family. That's huge for me. Somebody that's fun and spontaneous. I'm fun. I'm spontaneous. I'm a jokester. I have a big personality. So somebody that can handle, that. There's a couple things I'm looking for, but I don't have a partner right now. But there are things that I'm looking for.
Well, if you're single, I'm sure the streets are talking. I'm sure there's someone out there who's like planning a move. Trust. And to that point, do you believe in love at first sight?
I don't. I believe in lust at first sight. I believe you can see somebody and it's like a physical attraction, or you're lusting for them. I don't believe in love at first sight, but I think that it can come, and it could come quickly. But I think the first look, that feels a little bit more like lust to me than love.
I wouldn't disagree. I will say, though, for me personally, my wife.
Oh, I know the story. You and I had dinner, and you told me the whole story. Yeah, that was that. And the fact that it's lasted and you're happy, and 3 kids later, I mean, most people would have been like, oh, this is just a fly-by-night kind of, he went crazy for a second. But like, this is real. This is the real deal. When you told me about it, I knew it was, because I had never heard you talk like that before about someone and having that type of connection with someone. And I always admired that. So it's like, when you hear those stories from people you care about, it does give you like hope and faith that it can happen, because you live in a world where people sometimes speak so negatively about marriage or relationships and different things like that, that it's like, it's nice to talk to people that are happy and like doing it the right way. For someone like me, it gives me, like I said, hope.
Yeah. And I think when that was happening with me so quickly, it was like this thing that I wasn't even really thinking about, which I guess it's called love language.
Yeah.
And all these things were hitting. Like, what is your love language?
So I'm super affectionate. So definitely touch is one of them. And I'm learning that words of affirmation are definitely, wait, I got to say that. I need to record this because I'm going to send this to someone. Hold on, because this is too good. So I always thought my love language was physical touch because I'm super affectionate, but I'm learning that words of affirmation are very important to me. That I like to hear about how somebody feels about me. I like to be reassured. And so I think it's a mixture between physical touch and words of affirmation.
Um, what's your favorite curse word? And use it
Fuck.
in a sentence.
Fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm always
Fuck
like,
it.
I don't give a fuck. Fuck it. We doing it. I don't give a fuck what they say. We're doing it. Fuck is my favorite curse word.
And it is a standalone. Like you can say fuck and people,
Exactly.
it
Be
emotes.
like, yes. Fuck is my word for sure.
It emotes. Tell me about the best date you've ever been on.
The best date I've ever been on. The best date I've ever been on. I would say like I'm not a big birthday person, and I had a birthday. And someone really went out for my birthday with like setting up like dinner and balloons and like a whole entire experience. And for someone who's not a huge birthday person, I don't like all that attention on myself. It was nice. It did feel nice to be celebrated in that unexpected way. So I'm just more about like, I'm kind of cheesy. I'm more about like thoughtful, like cute stuff as opposed to like, oh, I got this Birkin bag or this diamond bracelet. Like I'm more like, write me a note, write me a card, like write me something about how you feel about me or how I make you feel. Like I'm that person. So when people do small gestures, like on my birthday, doing something so thoughtful, like setting something up like that, balloons and flowers and like a chef and dinner, it was just really sincere and special.
Yeah, it's like the thoughtfulness behind it is kind of
for
the
sure.
thing. That's probably part of your love language as well, is thoughtfulness.
For sure.
What's like the favorite character you've played so far in your career?
I mean, I love them all for different reasons. I would say like Lakeisha from Power is what really stamped me and like put me on the map. So I always have such a love for that character and just Power in general. Like I feel like what we created with that first installment of Power was history. Nobody knew what we were getting into, and for it to become as huge as it did, and now all these spinoffs and all these shows that came from it, it was just such an incredible time. And I think Power is a show that's going to be remembered forever. And, you know, we moved as a family at that time, you know, Omari, Notori, myself, there were so many great people, you know, Joe Sikora on that show. So that was like my first series regular role where you're with these people every day and it's family and you go to dinner and you know their kids and you know their wives and their husbands and you hang out. Like it was my first experience having that kind of TV family and I really loved it. So Lakeisha is definitely, you know, up there. But on BMF now, Markeisha, can you imagine Lakeisha, Markeisha? So on BMF now, Markeisha is incredible and extremely layered and complicated. I love playing her. And over there at the Shy, I love Dom. I love how Lena writes, you know, for characters. And it's really rooted in real life and real stories that happened, you know, in the Shy. So I love like digging into that work over there.
So I'm not going to fully lay off the hook. Which one's your favorite?
Lakeisha.
Okay.
Lakeisha from Power. Just because that's where it started. And like people still talk to me about like, I can't believe she killed you. I can't, like, they still talk about it. So I don't think that'll never get old.
Well, as far as Power goes, I mean, the Power universe, by the way, is incredible. I mean, all hail Courtney Kemp.
Yes.
Obviously.
Oh my God. Love her. She always saw something in me, always wrote to my strengths. Like she's a mentor. She's a sister. She's a friend. I love Courtney.
Yeah. I was close with Courtney for a while at one point, which I think, you know, we've had a couple dinners, me, you, and Courtney.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's great. If you could have any superpower, what do you think it would be?
Any superpower? It would be...
It's a tough question. It's like out of left field, you know?
I don't know, like maybe a way to make people be like their true, authentic self. I think so many people are not like living in their truth. And I know that sounds so like cliche, like, oh, living your truth. But I just think so many people aren't living in their truth. So many people aren't happy. So if there was like a wand or a way to just like make people live in their truth and be who they are and not care about what people think or what people are going to say and just be authentically who they are, I think that would be a great superpower.
That'd be fucking incredible.
Yeah. A lot of people get exposed though. You'd be like,
a lot of motherfuckers like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, 3 more questions for you. One I'm going to save. Which do you like more? Sending dirty, sexy text or just dirty, sexy talk?
I probably think text. I feel a little bit, I'm a little shy. So I think text, I feel a little bit protected. Like I could write it. If I had to say it, I'm like, so like writing it, I'm super confident. Like I want it. But saying it, I get like a little kid. I start laughing. I mess the moment up. I start joking around. Like, no, I think text for sure.
I want to say text for me, but I don't know. There's something about like the moment of truth.
Yeah, but I will start laughing. I'm that person that'll just be like, yeah, I can't wait to. So text for me is probably better.
That's what's up. So when this beautiful life you've created and lived is coming to an end and your tombstone is there, what would you like for it to say?
I would like for it to say, you know, here lies a person who had an incredible heart and who was an incredible mom and got so much joy out of helping other people and bringing happiness to other people. Like, I just really think that's the cancer in me. I think that's who I am. I think I'm happiest when the people around me or the people I care about are happy, or if I can help someone. I'm always trying to figure out ways to make other people happy. I think that is my superpower in real life. So that's what I would want to be remembered for. Got it.
And one other question I have for you, you know, for my camp with John Legend and the people affiliated with our camp, you know, prison reform and rights of prisoners is huge. And we visited several prisons, and it's just something we're very active in. And I know that you have a program now called ThreeSixty, which is spearhead. It's like has something to do with Rikers Island, I believe. Can you just tell me a little bit about the program?
Yeah, so ThreeSixty is a program I created out of Rikers Island. So it's inside Rikers Island. It's for young men ages 18 to 21. And it's weekly mentorship sessions, life coaching, life building, anything from how to present yourself in an interview, how to deal with, you know, your relationships, family trauma, things you've been through. So it's weekly mentorship sessions with the young men who are currently incarcerated in Rikers. And then upon release, we step in and help them with job placement, housing, clothing, anything they need. But the goal is to really help them become the best versions of themselves. So when they come out, they have a real shot at life, family, career. And we've had amazing success with the program. Is something I'm passionate about. I'm in Rikers Island a lot. Being here in Brooklyn is not that far. So I'm up there, you know, quite a bit, more than anyone would ever think. And just really trying to give back and help, you know, create amazing young Black men that can do great things in the world. Because that's how I look at my son being 17. When I'm talking to the young men in my program, it's like I'm speaking to my own child.
I think that's fantastic. And I think, you know, Black men have been forgotten a lot, you know, in society historically. And I think, especially with prison, if you look at the numbers, it's pretty insane. It's always interesting even talking about a progressive DA, even where people that are in opposition to these progressive DAs are like, he's just letting out criminals and blah, 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 blah. But like, they never talk about all the dozens and hundreds and thousands of Black men that have been wrongfully incarcerated and are being held, you know, for reasons that they shouldn't. So I think, in spite of that, I think having dialogue, having programs in place that prepare our young Black boys, young Black men for life after prison, life after heartache and heartbreak, because a lot of times they're there for things that are out of their control.
It's so true.
You know, and it's like, but they're persecuted like they're career criminals with no upside, no hope. So this is a beautiful thing.
So true. And when I look at each one of them, I'm like, you could put any of those kids in the right environment, with the right opportunities, with the right resources, and their lives will be completely different. I've seen it so many times when kids come out of my program and I get them a job and surround them with everything they need and they become super successful. One of my kids just got a full scholarship to Columbia University. Imagine, he was in Rikers Island and now a full scholarship to Columbia. It's just about the opportunities and the resources. And unfortunately, you know, how we grew up, we don't have access to that stuff. We don't have those things. So any little thing I could do to help, that's what it's all about for me.
I love that. Cause like, yeah, when you're in prison with like, as you or me are visiting and learning, and you're sitting with these incarcerated men and women, you find the humanity in them normally fairly quickly. You know, like most of them are just like you and I, like they're just
So true.
people trying to find their way who had a bad circumstance or something happened that made them pivot left. And they, you know, and it's one isolated thing. It's one isolated moment that's changed the trajectory of their life. So
Absolutely.
again, I think programs like this are so important. And,
Thank
you know,
you.
I'm glad you're doing it because, again, people see you, they see the glamorous life and, you know, fucking Michael Rubin's white party and all that cool stuff. And that shit is fun and sexy.
And that's fun. And by the way, Michael Rubin is a huge advocate of, you know, criminal justice reform, prison reform. And he's been a huge supporter of ThreeSixty and the work I do at Rikers. So hats off to him. And yeah, you're able to go to these parties and have fun, but there's real work happening, you know, behind the scenes and people that are really putting themselves out there to push for change.
And I think it's important to have these conversations publicly so people actually can hear about the things that folks like yourself are doing behind the scenes, because it's fun and glamour is maybe 4 or 5 hours in a day.
Yeah, it's
a few days a year.
That's not what it is, for sure. I mean, it's great to get your hair and makeup done and feel pretty, but there's so much more to it. And I'm really about, you know, the work and getting to the work.
That's what's up. Lala Anthony, sis, thank you for doing this.
I'm so glad. I will show up for you anytime, and let's talk soon and figure out, you know, what we could put together. There's always been synergy and a lot of things that we can do, so we need to make it happen.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.